Hello friends, my name is Dr. Ajay Kumar, EC Department, Associate Professor from the Department of ECE, IR Engineering College, Hyderabad. And I am going to deal the course Antennas, Waves and Propagation. And today we are going to discuss the module 1 of our course, that is the Antennas, Waves and Propagation. Today's topic is retarded vector potential. Today's topic is retarded vector potential. So we shall continue. In the previous session, we have discussed about what is the potential, what are the electric fields, and what are the magnetic fields, how these fields are produced. And today we shall continue the same session from the potential to the concept of retarded vector potential. So why we should study the concept of retarded vector potential and how we can apply this retarded vector potential concept to the antennas, and what are the things, parameters to be considered in calculating the retarded vector potential. We'll see in this today's session. So here, as we already know that a positive charge, if a positive charge, let us assume as Q, if it is stationary, then it will produce an electrostatic field. If a positive charge it is stationary, it will produce an electrostatic field. And if this charge is moving, then electric fields and magnetic fields are produced. And if these moving charges are accelerated with the speed of light, then the radiation happens. Then the radiation is produced from the current element or from any conductor. So this is how the radiation is produced from the conductor. That means these charged particles will accelerate with the speed of light back and forth. So when these charges are moving back and forth at the speed of light or fluctuating the charges up and down, then the radiation is going to happen. So here, an accelerating charged particle produces an electromagnetic wave. That means if you take a conductor, and if this is a positive charge and if this is a negative charge, when these charges move from one direction to the other direction at a faster rate, uniformly, when these charges with opposite polarities, these move in the opposite direction, with a constant velocity, then the radiations are produced. These radiations we call it as electromagnetic waves. That means these electromagnetic waves generated consists of electric fields and the magnetic fields. Both are traveling at the velocity of the light. The fields produced by the current element, by the fields produced by any conductor, will travel into free space with the speed of light, that is 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. Here, a charged particle oscillating about an equilibrium position is an accelerating charged particle. So whenever a charged particle is moving back and forth, we call it as an accelerating charged particle. If its frequency of oscillation is considered as f, then it produces an electromagnetic waves which has with the frequency of f. Right? If the frequency of oscillation of the charges along the length of the conductor is f, then it produces an electromagnetic wave whose frequency is f. If we know the frequency f, then we can easily calculate the value of lambda, that is the wavelength. So if we know the frequency f, we can easily calculate the lambda value, that is the wavelength of the electromagnetic wave, by the equation C is equal to f lambda. So we need to initially know what is the operating frequency of the given to the antenna. We need to know the operating frequency given to the antenna. If we know the frequency f, then it is easily to identify the value of lambda. Whenever these electromagnetic waves are produced by the current element, these are radiated into the free space. These can be delivered to the charged particles a large distance from the source. As we have discussed in the earlier session, these radio waves will be traveling along 3 zones. Along the near field zone, along the radiated field zone, and also at the same time it will reach to the far field zone. And here the electric fields and the magnetic fields produced will vary with respect to the distance of propagation. As the distance increases, the electric fields produced by the current element will decrease. That means the electric field strength will decrease with respect to the distance of propagation. If you take a small conductor If the r is increased, that is the distance. If the distance is increased, then the value of E, that is the electric field strength, and the magnetic field strength will gradually decrease. The electric field strength and the magnetic field strength will gradually decrease. Here, these accelerating charges produce changing electric and magnetic fields. So as we already know that the charges when move, they produce changing electric and magnetic fields, and these according to our physics theory, this any changing electric field will produce the magnetic field, and if any changing magnetic field will produce the electric field. So any changing electric field will produce if this is a conductor, the charges are moving. If the charges are moving around the conductor, then the magnetic field will be generated. If you place another conductor here, conductor parallel to the conductor 1, this is one conductor 1, this is conductor 2. Due to this magnetic field, due to the circulation of a magnetic field, an electric field is also produced to the conductor 2. And again to the conductor 2, some magnetic field is induced. I repeat again. Suppose if there is a conductor here, if we apply a conductor current of I here, some magnetic field is produced around the conductor. If you place another conductor in this area, in this zone, let us assume this as 2, let us assume this as element 2 or conductor 2. Due to this magnetic field produced by the current element of 1, some electric field is produced in the current element 2. Some electric field is induced in the current element 2. Due to this electric field which is induced in the current element 2, again some magnetic field is produced around the conductor of 2. So due to this, if you place another element 3 parallel to the current element 2, again an electric field is produced. Like this, the changing electric fields will produce magnetic fields, and the changing magnetic fields will produce the electric field. The changing electric fields will produce the magnetic field, and the changing magnetic fields will produce the electric fields. So this interplay between the induced electric and magnetic fields leads to the propagating of electromagnetic waves. That means the change of electric field to the magnetic field gives rise to the propagation of electromagnetic waves. And these propagation of electromagnetic waves will be traveling in the free space with the velocity of light. As we already know that the electric field is proportional to the charge Q. If more amount of charges, if more amount of current is being given, if more amount of input supply is given to the terminals of the antenna, or if more amount of input supply is given to the terminals of the conductor, then the amount of electric field produced will be more. That means the amount of acceleration increases. The amount of acceleration of the charges increases. As the amount of acceleration of the charges increase, thereby the field also increases. Thereby the electric field also increases. Moreover, it decreases as the inverse of the distance r. That means just now I told you that as the value of r, if this is a conductor, as the distance increases, this electric field, as the distance increases, the electric field will decrease. So this is one observation from the basic concept of antenna radiation. But it is not the distance at the time the field is observed. It is not the distance at the time the field is observed, but the distance at some earlier time, we call it as a retarded time. So here we know that there are two types of fields are produced, that is E and H fields. Any conductor will produce two types of fields, electric field and magnetic fields. The potentials at this point, the potentials of electric fields and the magnetic fields at a distant point P, we call it as retarded potentials. That means the potentials produced by the electric field and the magnetic field are called as retarded potentials. So in order to calculate the electric field, in order to calculate the magnetic field, first we need to find out the potential, electric potential and the magnetic potential of the electric field and the magnetic field. So as according to the EMTL theory, so whenever a wave is propagating into free space, whenever it is propagating in free space to a distance p, whenever radiation happens, this radiation will not reach to the distant point p instantaneously. That means this radiation is going to reach the distance point p after some time interval. After some time interval. That means the property of propagation of electromagnetic waves depends upon the velocity. The property of propagation of electromagnetic waves propagating to some particular distance at a distance point p depends upon the velocity. Depends upon the velocity and depends upon the time. Moreover, if we want to calculate the potential, if we want to find out the potential at this point p, we need to consider all these electromagnetic waves traveling to the distant point p. Suppose here you can observe here there are three electromagnetic waves traveling to the distance point p. To the distance point p. Let us assume there are three electromagnetic waves or radio waves are traveling to the distant point p. This electromagnetic wave will reach at a time interval of suppose let us say 2 seconds. Let us assume the second electromagnetic wave is going to travel with the velocity of light, but they reach the distance point p at a time interval of 3 seconds. And at the same time, if you take the path of the third one, the path of the electromagnetic of the third one, this will reach to the distance point p after 4 seconds. That means here we can observe that all these electromagnetic waves are traveling with the velocity of the light, but they are reaching to the distant point p after some time interval only. After some time interval only. So whenever we want to calculate the exact potential at distance point p, we need to consider not only the potential due to the time interval of 2 seconds. We need to consider all the electromagnetic waves traveling to the distance point p of considering at all the time intervals. That means even if the electromagnetic wave is going to reach with some delay, even if the some electromagnetic waves are reaching to the distance point p with some delay, that delay must also be considered in calculating the potentials of electric and magnetic potentials. That means here the path 1 is reaching the point at t is equal to 2 seconds. The path 2, the electromagnetic wave 2 is reaching to the point p at the time 3 seconds. And the third one is going to reach to the point p at 4 seconds. That means the total potential is nothing but the integration. The total potential at point p, either it may be electric potential or the magnetic potential, any type of potential if you want to calculate at the point p, so you need to consider all the radiations whichever reaching to the point p, either instantaneously or through some delay. So what is the amount of delay? What is the amount of delay that an electromagnetic wave takes for traveling to a distance point p? We know that the speed is equal to distance by time. That means the time is equal to distance by speed. So moreover, the distance we indicate in our observation that the distance is taken as r. The distance is taken as this distance. That means from the location of the antenna to some observation point p, the distance is taken as small r, and the speed of the light is taken as c. So just now we discussed that this at time r by c, the electromagnetic wave is going to reach to distant point p. And at the same time, this wave, second path, that is the electromagnetic wave, second one is going to reach to the point p after some time interval. The time interval is nothing but it is reaching to the distance point after some time interval. That is, the time period is nothing but t minus r by c. If you take this third one, this time interval is nothing but t1 minus r by c. Let us assume this t2 minus r by c, right? t3. This is t2. So here the second electromagnetic wave is traveling to the distance point p at a time interval of t2 minus r by c. At the same time, the third electromagnetic wave is reaching to the distance point p after a time interval of t3 minus r by c. So like this, different electromagnetic waves are reaching, different electromagnetic waves are reaching to the point P at different time intervals. So whenever you are going to calculate the potential, you need to do the summation of all these three. That means T3 minus R by C, what is the radiation field? And T2 minus R by C, what is the radiation field? And T1 minus R by C, what is the radiation field? All these fields, all these strengths of the electromagnetic waves have to be integrated. That means the summation machine, we need to sum all the fields produced, all the fields reached to the distance point P, then only we can calculate the exact potential at the distance point P. With that potential, we can easily calculate the electric field strength at the distance point P. So this is the basic concept behind the retarded vector potential. That means here the concept is very simple here. The fields produced, the potentials produced by the electric and the magnetic fields, we call it as a retarded potentials. These electromagnetic fields will not reach to distance point P instantaneously. Hence, we are going to consider all the potentials which are going to reach instantaneously and also at an earlier time also. So, whichever the fields observed at an earlier time, the time we call it as a retarded time when the radiation field was produced. These electromagnetic waves are traveling at the speed of the light, and it takes the value of R by C, T is equal to R by C to travel a distance of R. Let us start some derivations and expressions for the retarded vector potential. So how to calculate the retarded vector potential exactly from a current element, or you can apply it to the dipole or half wave dipole or any type of antenna. Let us assume here only a small conductor here. Let us assume here there is a small conductor here, and let us assume here there is a distance point P, and let us assume from this center of the current element to the distance point, this is known as observation point. To the point of observation, the distance is taken as R. If R is the distance between the source and the observation point, which is the source here, this is the source of the current element and the observation point, the vector of magnetic potential and the electric scalar potential at a distance R from the source at time T depend on the value of charge density and the electric current density at an earlier time T minus R by V. So here, whenever we give some input supply, I current, charges start flowing. That means due to the flow of charge, there will be some charge density. As we are applying the current to the input terminals, for the conductor, there will be some J, that is the current density also. There will be some current density J. So here we need to take both into consideration, both parameters into consideration. That means rho V due to the charges. Rho V is nothing but the charge density due to the movement of charges. Due to the movement of charges, there will be some charge density, and due to the inflow of current continuously along the conductor uniformly, there will be some current density J along the length of the conductor. So these things we need to consider to calculate the potential at some observation point P. So it is necessary to introduce the concept of retardation. The concept of retardation is nothing but the effect reaching a distance point P from a given element at an instant T due to a current value which was flowing at an earlier time. That means if this is a conductor, some effects are produced at a distance point P. These are known as effects, or some fields are produced from this element. This is known as element. This is the distance point P, and this is the distance. These are reaching at a T. These are reaching at a T minus R by V. This is reaching at a T2 minus R by V. So like this, not only the effect is produced due to current value, the effect of the given element at distance is not only due to the current value, but also the effect due to the earlier time also we need to consider. While dealing with the antennas, the finite time of propagation is of great importance. That means we are having two types of fields at the distance point P. One is electric field and the magnetic field. So here we are going to calculate the electric scalar potential which is related to the electric field, and we are going to calculate the vector magnetic potential which is related to the magnetic field H. So E and H are the two fields produced at the distance point P. So we are going to calculate the electric scalar potential. We are going to calculate the magnetic vector potential at a distance point P with respect to A and V. With respect to the A and V. So we shall calculate now this value of A and V. The electric charges are the sources of the electromagnetic fields. So as already we discussed that these electromagnetic fields, the radiations of electromagnetic fields are occurring due to the flow of electric charges. When these sources are time varying, the electromagnetic waves propagate away from the sources and radiation takes place. So these radiations can be considered as a process of transmitting electric energy. So what are the electromagnetic waves produced? What are the electromagnetic waves produced from a current element will be transmitting some amount of energy. That energy we call it as electric energy. And this energy of radio waves is effectively transmitted into the space with the help of conducting or dielectric structures called antennas or radiators. So here the radiations are happening by means of antennas and radiators where input current is given. So an antenna is simply a device which is going to radiate or receiving the electromagnetics. So antenna, it is a means of radiating or receiving the electromagnetic waves. So an antenna may be used for either transmitting or receiving electromagnetic energy. So we know that antenna, it is a conductor or it is a metallic rod which will radiate electromagnetic energy, or a matching unit between the source and the waves, in the free space. So in the design of antenna systems, we must consider some important requirements like what is the antenna pattern, what is the total power radiated, what is the input power given, and what is the radiation efficiency. So this all things has to be considered into account whenever we want to calculate the total retarded vector potential at a distance point P. So if we want to calculate the total vector potential, some parameters has to be considered. There are some important parameters to be considered regarding antenna. That means the radiation pattern, what is the input power given, what is the amount of power radiated, what is the input impedance of the transmission line, and what is the radiation efficiency of the antenna. So all these things has to be considered to calculate the potential, electric scalar potential and the magnetic vector potential. The direct solution for these requirements can be obtained by solving Maxwell's equations with appropriate boundary conditions of the radiator and the infinity. So if we want to calculate the potentials directly, we can use Maxwell's equations. So if we want to calculate the potentials, that is potentials at a distance point P, from a current element, we can directly calculate by means of Maxwell's equations. And we can also, there are another approach which is not related to the Maxwell's equations. That approach we call it as the heuristic approach. You can also calculate the potentials. These potentials has to be calculated for time varying fields only. So it is observed that most of the antenna configurations are complicated. So that this direct approach is suitable for certain types of antennas only. That means these Maxwell's equations and the boundary conditions are applicable only to some types of antennas only. For quantitative study of the radiation, for a detailed analysis, it is necessary to have the knowledge of the current distribution of the antenna. So, if we want to calculate the potential, we need to find out the distribution of current in the antenna, whether it is a linear antenna. If we take an antenna, we need to know whether the current distribution is linear, whether the current distribution is sinusoidal. So, whether the current distribution is linear or sinusoidal, it depends upon the structure of the antenna. It depends upon the dimensions of the antenna. Now we'll see what are the potential functions on the electromagnetic fields. So in case of the electrostatic field or the static magnetic field, the electric field or the magnetic field can be obtained easily in terms of charges or currents. So electric field, we can, if we want to measure the potential due to the electric field, we need to consider the charges. If we want to find out the magnetic field, we need to consider the current. That means in case of electromagnetic fields, the similar procedure is followed. That means, first of all, the potentials are obtained in terms of charges or currents. We are going to produce the fields E and H. These and E and H can be calculated by means of potentials. These potentials again depend upon the charges or currents. These potentials again depends upon the charges or currents. That is electric or magnetic fields obtained from these potential fields. So for obtaining the potentials of the electromagnetic field, there are different approaches we are having. There are different approaches to find out the potentials for the electromagnetic field. The potential of the electric field and the potential of the magnetic field in there are three different approaches to calculate. In the first approach, using trial and error, that means the potentials for the electric and magnetic fields are generalized. In the first approach, by using trial and error, the potentials for the electric and the magnetic field are generalized. After finding out the electric field and the magnetic field, we are going to apply the Maxwell's equations, which are recorded, where the electric field and magnetic fields are recorded. That means then it is shown that these potentials satisfy the Maxwell's equations or not. This approach is known as a heuristic approach. And the second approach is to start with the Maxwell's equations and then derive the differential equations that the potentials satisfy. So in the first case, we are going to generalize the electric field and the magnetic field, and after generalizing the fields, electric fields and the magnetic fields, we should check whether these fields are equivalent to the Maxwell's equations or not. And this method we call it as the first approach, heuristic approach. In the second approach, we need to start with the basic Maxwell's equations like del cross H is equal to J, and B is equal to del cross H, and D is equal to epsilon E, and del cross E is equal to 0. So all these are known as the Maxwell's equations. And then derive the differential equations that the potential satisfy. That means we are going to start with the Maxwell's equations and then derive the differential equations that the potentials satisfy. The third approach is to obtain directly the solutions of the derived equations, equations for the potentials, which is known as the heuristic approach. So we are going to find out the heuristic approach to find out the potentials due to the current element. Now we are going to apply the heuristic approach, the third approach, directly the solutions of the derived equations of the potentials. So this is the third approach. Directly we are going to calculate the potentials based upon some equations, upon some basic Maxwell's equations. So let us consider here, there is a volume charge density here. You can see here, the volume charge density, it is rho v over the given volume as shown in the figure. Let us consider the differential volume dV dash. So this is the total volume here. This is total volume charge. Let us consider the differential volume. So this is a differential volume dV dash, and at a distance point r dash. Here you can see the r dash from the origin, where the charge density is rho v of r dash. Then the scalar vector potential V at the point P can be expressed as V of R is equal to rho V of R dash of dV dash by 4 pi epsilon capital R. Here you can observe in the display here that capital R and R dash. So R dash, it is a vector. It is the distance from the differential volume to the origin, and capital R represents the original distance from the differential volume to the distance observation point P. This is the distance observation point P, and capital R represents the distance between the differential volume dV dash and the P. So here R can be written as if you want to calculate the vector, if you want to calculate the direction of propagation of R, you can calculate by R minus R dash, the vector representation R minus R dash with respect to the origin. So here if you want to calculate the potential at point P, the potential at point P is given by the expression 1 V of R. Here we want to calculate the potential, electric scalar potential V of R is equal to volume integral of rho V of R dash into dV dash by 4 pi epsilon into R. R can be written as R minus R dash also in terms of unit vector, and epsilon is the permittivity, and dV dash is the differential volume, and R dash is the distance from the differential volume to the origin. And we know from the electromagnetic theory that the electric field is given by the gradient of V minus del V. Minus del V represents the gradient of V. Whenever a current is flowing across a conductor, there will be some J here. That there will be some current density inside the throughout the conductor. Whenever some current is applied through a conductor, there will be some current density which is indicated as J. So again, if we want to calculate the magnetic vector potential, if we want to calculate the magnetic vector potential due to this conductor, due to this along this uniform length at a distance point P, we can simplify it by means of the equations B is equal to del cross A. The magnetic field we want to calculate, the expression we are having is B is equal to del cross A bar, and B is equal to mu H. We know that the magnetic field intensity is equal to B is equal to mu H. B is equal to mu H. Magnetic flux density is equal to mu H. H represents the magnetic field intensity, E represents the electric field intensity. And A of R is equal to mu of J of R dash by 4 pi R. Mu of A bar of R is equal to integration of mu of J dash of R dash by 4 pi R into dV dash. So these are the potentials, two different potentials of electric scalar potential and magnetic scalar potential. So this is the magnetic vector potential, and the earlier one it is scalar potential, electric scalar potential. So this is the electric scalar potential. Equation 1 is represented as electric scalar potential, and the equation 3 is we are going to represent as a magnetic vector potential. A bar of R is equal to integration of mu of J dash of R dash by 4 pi R into dV dash. But we know actually that the charges and the current distributions producing the electromagnetic field will vary with respect to time. These equations, that is the equation 3 and equation 1, these equations represent, in the equations you can observe that the time is not mentioned here. The time interval T is not mentioned in the equation 3 and equation 1. That means we written the equations without considering the time. But we know that the electric fields and the magnetic fields are reaching to the distance point B after some time interval T. Hence, we are going to modify the expressions in terms of T. That means we are going to change the expressions of 3 and 1 just by including a variable T here. That means R dash comma T. We are going to replace this numerator with R dash comma T. And at the same time, this numerator we are going to represent in terms of T. That means R dash comma T. See here, we have modified the expressions. That means we have modified the electric scalar potential and the magnetic vector potential by the expressions including just T. That means as these fields vary with respect to time, we are modifying these expressions by including a variable T time parameter in the numerator, R dash comma T. Right? And just now I told you that R is nothing but indicates the distance of propagation from source to the distance point P, where it is given by R minus R dash, the unit vector. From equations 5 and 6, above equations, it is clear that the potentials vary instantaneously as the charge and current distribution varies. Right? So we have represented first two equations without a time, and the next equations 5 and 6 with respect to the time. But in general, the velocity of the electromagnetic field propagating through any homogeneous medium can be described in terms of V and epsilon. That means the permittivity and the permeability. Here given by V is equal to 1 by root mu epsilon. The velocity of the electromagnetic wave depends upon the permeability and the permeability. That means 1 by root of mu epsilon. The potential at any point is not due to the value of charge density. Right? The potential at any point is not due to the value of charge density. Now we need to represent the above time in terms of a finite time of propagation in the fields which are derived. So already we have derived some expressions in terms of T. That means we have represented A in terms of R comma T. At the same time we have represented E in terms of R comma T. Right? So here you can see here. A is represented in terms of R comma T, and also V also represented in terms of R comma T. But this A and V, the magnetic vector potential and the electric scalar potential, these fields will travel with a velocity of V is equal to 1 by root mu epsilon. The velocity of the electromagnetic wave is mu epsilon. Right? So it is necessary to accomplish this finite time of propagation in the potentials from which fields are derived. That means these potentials are going to reach to the distance point P after some time interval T. That means these are going to reach a distance point P after some time interval T, and we can write it as speed is equal to distance by time. So speed is equal to distance by time. We can write as T is equal to distance by speed. Distance is nothing but R, and speed is equal to V. So T is equal to R by V. So we need to, if we want to calculate the potentials, if we want to calculate the potentials at a distance point P, we need to consider the earlier potentials also. We need to consider the earlier potentials also. That means we need to calculate T1 minus R by V and T2 minus R by V. So whichever the fields, whichever the radiations happening at these time intervals also, we need to consider, and we need to do the integration. We need to do the summation of all those potentials to calculate the electric scalar potential and the magnetic vector potential. So you can observe here, we are going to consider the finite time of propagation. That means the equations representing the potentials are modified by introducing a time delay as R by V, or we can also simply call it as R by V. So the same expressions of above 5 and 6 are modified in terms of T minus R by V, 1 by 4 pi epsilon volume integral of rho V into R dash comma T minus R by V by capital R into dV dash. And A bar of R dash comma T is equal to mu by 4 pi into J bar of R dash comma T minus R by V by R into dV dash. So these equations 7 and 8 are delayed by the time interval of R by V. These are the potentials which we have considered, which are reaching to the distance point P after a time delay of R by V. Hence, these potentials are called as retarded potentials. Right? So these are the expressions of retarded vector potential. Right? So here, let us conclude this retarded vector potential concept. So here, these are the expressions to find out the electric scalar potential and the magnetic vector potential. So why this concept is derived means to calculate the electric field and the magnetic field. If this is a conductor AB, if we want to calculate an electric field and a magnetic field at this point P, we need to find out first the potentials produced by the electric field. Let us assume this is V and the magnetic vector potential A. So we want to find out, if we want to find out E and H at point P, we need to find out the potential at a distance point P, that is V, the electric scalar potential, and A, the magnetic vector potential. In order to calculate these potentials, that is V and A, electric scalar potential or magnetic vector potential at a distance point P, we need to consider all the potentials, all the fields or all the effects produced by this element AB, which are reaching to the distance point P at all time intervals. That means one electromagnetic wave will reach to the distance point P at a time interval of 2 seconds. This is one effect. And another electromagnetic wave will reach to the distance point P after 3 seconds. And another electromagnetic wave will reach the distance point P after 4 seconds. So whenever you want to find out the total potential at the point P, we need to consider all these effects produced by the current element AB and reaching to the distance point P after 2 seconds, after 3 seconds and after 4 seconds. That means all these effects must be integrated. That means all these effects produced by the element AB must be integrated. Integration is nothing but the summation. The summation of all the effects produced by the element AB at a distance point P gives rise to the total electric potential, total electric scalar potential and the total magnetic vector potential, which is given by the expressions 7 and 8. As these potentials are delayed by a distance by the time interval of R by V, these potentials are delayed by the time interval of R by V, these R by V, that is retarded by the time interval of R by V, these potentials are called as retarded potentials. These potentials are called as retarded potentials. Right? In the next session, we will see about the fields from the oscillating dipole. So, today's class we have discussed about the retarded vector potential and the potential. Here, we will see another one, fields from the oscillating dipole. Let us have a brief introduction about what is the fields produced by the oscillating dipole. So, exactly what is a dipole? Means, if we take a conductor with with two opposite polarities. A dipole is nothing but there will be two polarities. That means there will be equal and opposite charges. There will be, if this is plus q and this is minus q. The charges will be different, and these two are separated by these two will be have some separation of distance with some minimum distance, and the magnitude of the magnitude of the two ends will be same. The magnitude of the two ends of the two ends of the conductor will be same. That we call it as a dipole. That means equal and opposite charges are separated by with some minimum distance or maximum separation. We call it as a dipole. So we'll see how these fields are produced from the oscillating dipole. How the fields are produced from the oscillating dipole. Here, if you observe in the figure if you observe in the figure, t is equal to 0. That means here, at a t is equal to 0, at a time interval t is equal to 0, how the radiation is happening. The positive charge is at this end and the negative charge is at this end. And the separation between the positive and the negative charges is I is equal to 0. And there is a separation is maximum. Here you can see here the separation between the positive charge and negative charge at a time interval t is equal to 0 is maximum. At time interval t is equal to 0 is maximum. If we consider this total length as L0, the maximum separation, the distance is taken as L0. And at this distance, at t is equal to 0, there are many field lines are produced. When the positive charge and the negative charge are the distance between the positive charge and negative charge is maximum, there are field lines are produced. So we are considering only one field line here. Like this, you can observe here, there are many field lines are produced. These are known as radiation fields from the current element. Out of all these fields, for example, we are going to consider only one line that is known as a field line. This is known as the field line. So when the separation is maximum, you can observe here, the positive charges and negative charges are at a farther distance. The field line will be like this. That means one radiation field is happening here. Now slowly, if this positive charge and the negative charge start moving, that means if the distance between the positive charge and negative charge is decreased, then this field line will also vary like this. Then this field line produced by this conductor will also vary. You can see in the second thing, in the figure 2. When these positive charges and negative charges, are moving to some distance or in the opposite direction, see the effect of the field line produced by this element is changed. That means the pattern of the field line produced by this current element is produced by this conductor or the dipole, it is changed. That means, let us assume this now the time period in the previous session is time t is equal to 0. Now the time t is equal to t by 8. That means after some time interval of t by 8, the charges move towards each other. After some time interval t is equal to t by 8, the charges are moving towards each other as shown in the figure. When the charges start moving towards each other, the field produced will also vary. The shape of the field line is different from the first case. The shape of the field line is different when we have seen in the previous case. And again, if you after some time interval of t by 8, after some time interval of t by 4. So after some time interval of t by 4, these charges are crossing the center of the conductor. You can observe here, these charges, positive charge and negative charge, have crossed at the midpoint of the conductor. So when these charges cross the midpoint of the conductor, the field lines will be like this. The path of the field lines produced by this, you can see the direction of the current flowing along the field line. See here, it is going like this after a time interval of t0 t by 4. That means here the separation is minimum here. You can observe here the separation of charges is minimum. At a time t is equal to t by 4. So again, when these charges opposite charges are going in the opposite directions, one field line is detached from the conductor. That means it is released from the dipole. A field line is completely detached. A field line is completely terminated from the dipole, it is going to far away from the conductor. That means whenever these charges are moving back and forth, different lines are detached from the dipole. Different lines are detached from the dipole. That means different electromagnetic waves or different electromagnetic fields are produced from this dipole as these positive and negative charges will move back and forth. As these charges are moving back and forth, at a faster rate, many field lines are detached from the dipole, and these detached field lines we call it as the electromagnetic field lines or the radio waves. This is the concept of fields from the oscillating dipole. That means even after a time t is equal to 0/2, this exactly the separation is maximum. The separation between the charges is maximum, and these polarities have been changed. Changed completely, and one full radiation pattern and one full field line is being observed here due to the dipole. So as the time increases, the distance is decreasing. The distance between the charges is decreasing. As the distance between the charges is decreasing, different field lines are produced from the conductor. That means the charges gain maximum acceleration, current being I is equal to 0. So at I is equal to 0, the acceleration is maximum. The acceleration is maximum. Hence, one complete field line is being produced by the dipole, which is maximum. The maximum radiation field is produced by the dipole when I is equal to 0 and A is equal to A max. So this is the concept of fields from the oscillating dipole. So how the fields are produced from the oscillating dipole? The concept is very simple. As the charges are moving up and down, the field lines will be produced by the conductor. More number of field lines are produced by the conductor. At a time t is equal to t/2, at a time t is equal to t/8, you can observe here the pattern of you can see here at time t is equal to 3/8. You can see here at a time t is equal to t/4, at a time t is equal to t/8, at a time t is equal to 0. Right? So at a time t is equal to 0, you can see here there is one complete line here. You can see one complete field line here. The positive and negative charges separation is maximum. And after time interval of t is equal to t/8, when the pattern of the field line is, you can see here at time t is equal to t/8, and at time t is equal to t/4, see here the charges have been crossed to the center of the conductor, and at time t is equal to 3t/8, one line is detached completely from the conductor. It is released from the dipole, and when the time t is equal to t/2, one radiation field or the field line which is having maximum field strength is released from the dipole. So this is how the fields are produced from the oscillating dipole. That means oscillating means moving of charges happening at a faster rate, then the electromagnetic fields are produced.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.